I married my husband for a visa. But now I'm falling for him, and I'm terrified to tell him. Hi Reddit. This is going to be long, probably messy, and definitely something I never thought I'd write. I've been sitting with this for weeks, maybe longer, and I just need to get it out. Maybe for advice. Maybe just so I can breathe again. Some background. I, 26F, moved to the US about 6 years ago on a student visa. I finished school, got my degree, started working, but immigration stuff is complicated and expensive and, honestly, terrifying. My work visa situation fell apart thanks to a shady employer who dragged his feet on paperwork. And before I knew it, I was staring down the possibility of having to leave. I was panicking. I didn't grow up in a country where I felt safe or supported. The thought of going back made me physically ill. I have friends here. Life. Dreams I've worked my ass off for. The thought of starting over somewhere I never really belonged in the first place was crushing. Enter Jack, 33M. Jack is, I don't even know how to explain him. He's the cousin of a friend I met at a party about a year ago. At the time, I remember thinking he was sweet, quiet, kind of nerdy, but in a comforting way. I never thought anything romantic of it. We barely spoke. When the visa stuff got bad, a mutual friend brought up the M word. Marriage. I laughed it off at first. I wasn't the type. I couldn't imagine faking something so serious. But as the weeks passed and I started realizing how few options I had, I got desperate. I brought it up to my friend, kind of as a joke. A week later, Jack reached out. We got coffee. He said he knew the situation and he was willing to help. No strings, no money, just kindness. He said, people marry for all kinds of reasons. At least this way, you get to stay and keep building the life you've already started. I cried in the middle of that cafe. So yeah, we got married. It was small, legal, no fanfare, a very private city hall deal. Then we moved into a shared apartment to make it look legit for immigration, which it technically was, just unconventional. 2-bedroom place in Brooklyn. I took the bigger room because I work from home. We set up the utilities together, took photos, memorized details about each other for interviews. At first, it was awkward but manageable. We got along surprisingly well. Jack is just easy, thoughtful, smart. He makes the best coffee. He always remembers if I have a stressful day ahead and texts me little notes of encouragement. He started leaving me dumb post-it notes like, "Don't forget to eat, or I'll call it to drag you to lunch." His humor is dry. But I laughed. I didn't realize when things shifted. I just know they did. One night I came home exhausted and he had made dinner. Nothing fancy. Boxed mac and cheese and frozen broccoli. But the lights were low, music was playing, and he'd set 2 plates. He said, "You look dead this morning. I figured you needed carbs." I think I fell a little that night. Then I fell more. I noticed stupid little things. The way he ruffles his hair when he's nervous. How he always calls his mom every Sunday morning. How he listens when I talk, really listens. He remembered that my dad used to make rice pudding when I was sick, and one night I came home coughing and found a pot of it on the stove, still warm. Spoiler. It was awful, but I cried anyway. Here's the thing. I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't plan to catch feelings. This was supposed to be a contract. Clean, simple arrangement. A way to survive. But now I look at him when he's half asleep on the couch, or humming while brushing his teeth, or yelling at the TV during baseball games. And my chest aches. I love him. God, I love him. But I can't tell him. Because what if he doesn't feel the same? What if he was just being kind and now he's stuck with a clingy immigrant who caught feelings for her fake husband? What if he pities me? What if I ruin the one stable, peaceful, kind thing in my life? I've been sleeping like crap. I avoid lingering around him too long because I'm afraid I'll say something. Or worse, he'll say something kind and I'll read into it and embarrass myself. But then last week, something happened. We were watching some ridiculous baking show. We always make fun of the people who cry over cakes, but low-key we both get invested. I was curled up on one end of the couch. He was on the other. And I caught him looking at me. Not in a creepy way. Just soft. I asked, "What?" And he said, "You laugh with your whole face. It's cute." I brushed it off with a sarcastic joke. He didn't push. But later that night I sat in my room and just cried. 'Cause maybe he sees me too. Or maybe he's just being nice. I don't know. I'm overthinking everything now. I draft texts to confess. I delete them. I rehearse speeches in the shower. Back out. So here I am, confessing to strangers on Reddit. I married a man for a visa. I never meant to fall in love with him. But I did. And now I don't know what to do. Do I tell him? Do I risk it? What if it ruins everything? I don't know how to go back to pretending. But I don't know how to move forward either. If anyone's been through something like this, or just has advice, please talk to me. Thanks for listening. Lost in Brooklyn, broken heart. Update. I married my husband for a visa. Then I fell for him. I was terrified to tell him. Hey Reddit. It's been a few weeks since I posted my original post, and I'm back with an update because honestly, you guys helped me way more than I expected. I read every comment. I cried over a lot of them. Some of you made me laugh, looking at you. You're already married, what's he gonna do, divorce you? Face with tears of joy. Some of you shared stories that made me feel so seen. But most importantly, you all reminded me that love, real love, is always a risk. And sometimes it's worth taking. So I took the leap. A few nights after I posted, Jack and I were in the kitchen cleaning up after dinner. It was just us late at night, the window cracked open, the city buzzing softly in the background. We'd had wine. Not a lot, just enough to take the edge off the usual fear that clings to my ribs whenever I get too close to vulnerability. He handed me a towel to dry dishes and said something dumb about how we should start a cooking channel where we aggressively insult each other while chopping onions. I laughed too hard and then it just hit me, this is the life I want. This goofy, soft, steady man and his dry jokes and his tender little acts of care. So I put the plate down, took a deep breath and said, I need to tell you something. He turned, towel still in hand. I said, when we got married, I didn't think much about what it would mean emotionally. I just knew I needed help. And you gave me that. But what I didn't expect was to start falling in love with you. Silence. My heart was pounding. I could hear the faucet dripping behind me, and suddenly every sound in the apartment was deafening. He just looked at me for a second. Then he said, very quietly, I was wondering how long it would take you to say that. Reader, I swear I almost blacked out. Then he stepped forward real close and said, I didn't want to pressure you. I figured if I said something first, it would make you feel trapped, like you owed me something. I was already crying at this point. Then he added, but I've been in love with you for months, since maybe the third time you yelled at the toaster. Or when you tried to convince me to watch Mamma Mia because it's objectively a cinematic masterpiece and you're just afraid of joy. I burst out laughing, still crying. He smiled and wiped my face with a stupid dish towel. Kissed. For real. No pretending, no photos, no interviews. It's been weird and beautiful and scary and amazing. We moved into the same bedroom, finally. It was awkward at first, like we were playing catch-up on intimacy, relearning each other in a brand new way. But it also feels like we were already a couple, just missing the words. Talk more now. Deeper stuff. About what happens after I get my green card. About what kind of life we actually want to build. We've started planning a real honeymoon next year. Nothing fancy, maybe somewhere upstate with hiking and hot springs and no internet. Sometimes I wake up next to him and I have this surreal moment of how the hell did I get so lucky? Like this wasn't supposed to happen. I wasn't even looking for love. But it found me anyway. For anyone in a similar situation, maybe you're in a relationship that started unconventionally. Maybe you're scared to speak up. Maybe you're like I was, thinking you don't deserve more than survival. Let me say this. Love is messy and weird and terrifying. But it's also the most honest thing we get to feel. And sometimes, the riskiest conversations lead to the most beautiful truths. Thanks again, Reddit. You gave me the courage I didn't know I needed. Not so lost in Brooklyn, ring red heart. 1 year later update. I married my husband for a visa. Then I fell in love with him. Now we're building a life together, for real. Hi Reddit fam waving hand. I don't know if anyone still remembers my original post or the follow-up, Tildar. I married Jack to stay in the US, caught real feelings, was terrified to tell him. Turned out he felt the same. But I wanted to come back with a 1 year later update because this weird, beautiful, unconventional love story of mine deserves a full circle moment. Also, some of you messaged me asking how it's going. Red heart, so here it is. We were married on paper but still kind of orbiting each other emotionally. I was full of guilt and fear and falling fast for a man I didn't technically marry for love. It felt like I had broken some unspoken rule, that you're not supposed to fall in love with someone who was just helping. So, Jack never made it feel transactional, even in the beginning. And when I finally confessed how I felt, he didn't hesitate. He chose me, not just out of kindness or obligation, but love. Changed. We moved into a new apartment together. A real one-bedroom this time. Not for appearances. Not to pass a USCIS interview. Just because we wanted a home that was ours. We got a cat. Her name is Toast because she is small, chaotic, and frequently on the kitchen counter when she shouldn't be. Jack is obsessed with her and pretends he's not. We took that honeymoon trip upstate. It rained the entire weekend, we got lost on a hiking trail, and I forgot my glasses. But we also had the best damn time playing board games by the fire and drinking wine out of mugs. I got my green card. Raising hands, the interview was actually kind of hilarious because the agent asked, "How did you two meet?" And Jack blurted out, "Technically through mutual visa-related desperation." I nearly strangled him. But we passed. We threw a party the night the card arrived in the mail. Felt like the final scene in a movie. The one where you realize everything awful and messy that came before somehow led you exactly where you were meant to be. We chose to stay married. Not out of necessity. Not out of legal convenience. But because we're in this for real. We renewed our vows in our apartment living room 2 months ago. Just us, a few close friends, and Toast, who wore a bow tie and promptly threw up on my dress. I wrote mine on a napkin and cried halfway through. Jack read his from a tiny notebook he said he'd been adding to for months. There were references to toaster arguments, Mamma Mia, and one really bad rice pudding attempt. It was perfect. Sometimes I think back to that scared, guarded version of me who thought she was only worthy of survival, not love. And I just want to hug her. Tell her that yes, things started out messy and complicated. But life doesn't care about the script. And love. Love thrives in unexpected places. Jack is my best friend. My safe place. My favorite accident. My husband. So yeah, this story started as a visa marriage. But it ended in real, deep, ridiculous, beautiful love. Thanks for rooting for us, Reddit. Yellow heart. Officially not just married on paper anymore, Dizzy.